For every loved demon moon, there is one who is hated by everyone, starting with upper rank 2, Doma. From running a secret cult to only eating women, there is a lot to hate about this demon. I mean, just look at him, he always has a weird smile. And his sadistic joy at seeing others in pain reminds one of Mahito from Jujutsu Kaisen. That weird, unsettling smile never leaves his face, even while murdering someone. It's no wonder that everyone, from the demons to the Hashiras, even Muzan Kibutsuji, the literal demon king, can't stand the guy. Doma isn't just evil, he's infuriatingly cheerful about it. His origin story isn't just tragic, it's disturbingly casual. His mom kills his dad, then poisons herself right after. And what does Doma do? He complains about the smell. No tears, no trauma, just vibes, and that's what makes him so terrifying. Most demons spiral into madness. Doma, he walks in with a smile and calls it enlightenment. Because of his incredibly rare and beautiful eyes, he was able to quickly build a following of worshippers, known as the Paradise Faith Cult, who believed that he could communicate with the gods. He would later leverage this to build up his cult following, which provided him with the women whom he ate. But the reason why everyone hates Doma is much more sinister. Beneath his seemingly apathetic and uncaring persona, Doma is actually very evil, offering his followers salvation and eternal peace. All you had to do was let him eat you alive, and they thanked him for it. And if you think that's bad, it's only going to get worse from here. He's also very strong, as he was able to quickly surpass Akaza to become upper rank 2, even though the latter was recruited as a demon before him. This strength also shows up in his fights with the Hashira, as he rarely takes them seriously and, at multiple points, starts laughing during the battle with Shinobu. His icy blood demon art also prevents her, Inosuke and Kanao from acquiring their Hashira mark. It's no wonder that everyone, Hashira, demons, viewers, and even Muzan, hate this demon. Akaza, on the other hand, is loved by the Hashira, the viewers, and even his enemies, because unlike most demons, his story hurts. Hakuji, Akaza's real name, was born to a very sick father. To pay for his father's medicines, Hakuji pickpocketed around town. Every time he got caught, they beat him senseless. He wasn't a thief, just a desperate kid trying to keep his dad alive. Eventually, he would be marked with criminal tattoos by the village authorities just so no one would forget. One day, after one too many beatings, Hakuji's father took his own life. He left a note saying he couldn't bear to be the reason his son suffered anymore. Hakuji never recovered. Grief didn't break Hakuji, it turned him into a weapon. He started picking fights in the street, fists flying not just at people, but at the world that took everything from him. And one day, after nearly killing 7 men, he met Kaizo, the owner of a local dojo, who saw potential in him and adopted him to take care of his sickly daughter, Koyuki. Her previous caretaker, Koyuji's mother, had drowned herself due to stress, and Kaizo lacked enough time to take care of her. Because of his experience taking care of his father, he had little trouble doing so for Koyuki. He didn't know it at the time, but when he promised Koyuki she'd see next year's fireworks, she believed him. And somehow, so did her body. For the first time in a long while, someone smiled because he was there. 2 years later, Koyuki could stand, walk, and even do chores. She was alive again. Hakuji continued to learn martial arts, and the dojo continued to grow. One day, his master, Kaizo, offered Hakuji the dojo and his daughter's hand in marriage, to which he agreed to defend with his life. Overjoyed, he went to his father's grave to tell him the news. His son had finally made it. But just as everything fell into place, it was ripped apart. A student from the dojo ran to Hakuji, informing him that the head of the rival dojo had poisoned the water Koyuki and Kaizo were drinking and that they died shortly after. They poisoned his only family, the girl he loved, the man who saved him. He marched into the rival dojo and unleashed every ounce of his pain. When it was over, 67 men were dead, their bodies so tortured they couldn't be identified. When Muzan finds him, Hakuji is barely human. Bloodied, hollow-eyed, lost. He doesn't beg, he doesn't resist, he just stands there, silent, broken. And Muzan, he offers immortality to a man who had nothing left to live for. And by becoming a demon, he began to forget everything that made him human. But even as a demon, something about Akaza never changed. Although he loses his memories, he still maintains a deep connection to his human self. His hair, his vest, Both pink, the color Koyuki loved. Somehow, even without memories, her presence clung to him. He never ate women, not once, and his blood demon art, destructive death, blends the martial style Kaizo taught him with snowflake-like patterns and is shaped like a snowflake, reflecting Koyuki's name, which means snow in Japanese. Another reason why Akaza is loved is his willingness to protect those he deems too strong or skilled to die. Similarly, in the Infinity Castle arc, he asks for Gyu's name, something he does only when he fights an opponent worthy of remembrance. But nothing compares to what happens in his final fight, when the last piece of Hakuji tries to claw its way back. After having his head cut off, Hakuji begins to recall his memories, his father, Kaizo, and Koyuki. Memories he had not seen in over 100 years. Faces he hadn't seen in over 100 years begin to return. As his demon body continues fighting, reaching, and trying to become as strong as Muzan, his heart remembers what it used to be. Inside that chaos, his loved ones call to him, not to fight, but to let go. While his body unleashes the destructive death technique, inside he makes a choice. He smiles and turns the technique against himself. With that final act, Akaza dies, not as a demon, but as Hakuji, at peace, finally going home, to Kaizo, to Koyuki, even as Muzan screams for him to stay alive. There's no doubt this scene will bring tears to the eyes of fans when it's eventually animated. And maybe that's why Akaza is loved, while someone like Hantenu is so deeply hated. You remember that one cousin who hit you, then start crying like they did nothing wrong? That's what it's like being around Hantenu. When Hantenu first appears, he's already crying, but he never really stops. He cries when he's scared. He cries when he's angry. He cries when he's killing you. And somehow, he always sees himself as the true victim. It's not just annoying, it's almost sinister. Because behind the tears, there's anger, pleasure, mockery, and joy. And that's how his story starts. Before he became a demon, Hantenu was a human who believed himself to be an innocent and good person, unable to do any wrong. He lied, stole, and killed, but every time he was caught, he acted shocked.
It wasn't me. It was my hands, he said once.
He would even go as far as feigning blindness to get pity from others. And while Akaza died fighting for the ones he loved, Hantenu killed the ones who loved him, just to protect his lies. All of these lies come to a head when he is reported for his crimes and imprisoned by a magistrate. While in jail, Muzan would visit and convert him into a demon. And, as you might expect, the first thing he does is kill the magistrate. It's very confusing as to how he became an upper moon, even with all these flaws. By comparison, Kokushibo's place as a Hashira and an upper moon was never in question. Kokushibo was always strong, as a Hashira, as a demon, but never the strongest. Not while Yoriichi was alive. And no matter how far Kokushibo pushed himself, he could never catch up. Yoriichi was born with the intelligence and skill that many desired but couldn't possess. Yet, he never saw them as important, choosing to hide his gifts instead of using them. It's like having a younger sibling who's so perfect everyone forgets you're in the room. Naturally, being number 2 leads to envy, especially when it happens for reasons outside your control. And that is how envy takes root. For Kokushibo, the situation was no different. Initially, Yoriichi disappears for 10 years following the death of their mother. At this time, Koku has a family of his own, until a demon attacks his home, killing all of his soldiers and almost killing him till it's stopped by Yoriichi. At this point, his skill as a swordsman has grown greatly, eclipsing that of his childhood. Seeing his mute brother, Yoriichi, become a skilled warrior of unmatched caliber among even the Demon Slayer Corps, leads to Koku becoming intensely jealous and envious of his brother. Driven by envy, Kokushibo abandoned his home, wife, and children and joined the Demon Slayer Corps himself. He trained harder than anyone else and even developed his own breathing style. But no matter how hard he trained, he could never catch up, but would come against a most unlucky fate, the Demon Slayer mark. In the Demon Slayer universe, everyone who unlocks the mark fails to live to their 25th birthday, no matter how strong they are. In a desperate bid to escape death, Michikatsu betrayed the core and made a deal with Muzan Kibutsuji, trading his humanity for time, and even after turning into a demon, even after gaining years of strength, he is unable to defeat his brother when they meet again 60 years later. With Kokushibo only surviving because his brother ran out of time, not strength. Koku's story is deeply saddening. It's being close enough to a treasure, but being unable to possess it. Having the sun shine so brightly that it puts off your sparkle. His actions result from envy, being born into a world where he was always seen as the second choice. A world where he gave everything up to become the best, only to find out that he had become a monster, which he never wanted to be. It's similar to the story of Shinjuro Rengoku, who, upon becoming the Flame Hashira, discovered that he could never become the strongest Hashira. Rather than give up like Shinjuro did, Michikatsu made a deal with the literal devil to extend his life and perfect his skills, only to still fall short. But Yoriichi never hated him. He saw him as his brother, one who loved him and whom he loved. At their last meeting, 60 years after the initial, he discovers that Yoriichi had lived to over 80 despite bearing the mark, something thought impossible. The same mark that had pushed Kokushibo to become a demon decades earlier, and for the first time in a long while, Yoriichi shows emotion, crying at the sight of his brother, Michikatsu, having turned into a demon. Yoriichi never aimed to dominate his brother, and in that instant, Koku instantly realized the futility of his envy. Yoriichi had never aimed to outshine his brother, his gifts had just made it so, making an effort not to die until he had seen his brother once again. Even after becoming a demon, Yoriichi still defeated him, while old, blind, and dying. In his final moments, Kokushibo finally sees it, that he gave up everything, his family, his humanity, even his name, chasing a shadow he was never meant to catch. And when he dies, it's not with pride or power, but with grief. The same can't be said for Kaigaku, who treated his adopted younger brother, Zenitsu, like trash.
Good for nothing. Any effort spent on you is an absolute waste of time.
Although we don't get to learn much about Kaigaku in the anime, his story is revealed in the manga. Kaigaku was one of the students of the retired Thunder Hashira, Jigoro Kuwajima. He mastered every form of thunder breathing, except the first. Zenitsu, on the other hand, could only learn the first form, but mastered it to perfection. And when their master named both Kaigaku and Zenitsu as his successors, Kaigaku snapped. How could someone like Zenitsu, lazy, timid, barely competent, be considered equal to him? To Kaigaku, it wasn't just unfair, it was humiliating. But Kaigaku's more than that. Like Zenitsu, he was an orphan who grew up with nothing. And as such, he resorted to doing immoral or demeaning acts, like thievery and drinking from a puddle as a means of survival. At first, he was adopted by Gyomei Himejima before he became the Stone Hashira. However, his intense sense of self-preservation would cause him to disobey Gyomei and therefore endanger other children to save himself, leading to the future Stone Hashira being wrongly accused of their deaths. He is later adopted by Jigoro, under whom he begins his training to become a demon slayer. But his self-serving attitude would appear once again when his group is confronted by Upper Rank 1 Kokushibo. Realizing he was no match for Kokushibo, and given his strong desire to prove everyone else wrong, Kaigaku agrees to become Upper Rank 6. Jigoro, upon hearing this, decides to commit seppuku, as he couldn't stand to bear his former student becoming a demon. This then becomes the reason for Zenitsu and Kaigaku's fight in the Infinity Castle arc, with Zenitsu believing Jigoro had been nothing but fair to them, while Kaigaku criticized him for believing he and Zenitsu were equal successors to the thunder-breathing Hashira. Despite all the squabbling, the story ends when Zenitsu unleashes thunder-breathing 7th form, a move he had created himself, and kills him. Although not an upper rank, Lady Tamayo's role as a demon would prove pivotal in stopping Muzan Kibutsuji. From developing the humanization drug for Nezuko Kamado to creating the anti-Kibutsuji medicine, Tamayo was one of the few demons who, after her transformation into one, was able to regain and retain her human emotions. Before becoming a demon, she had had a terminal disease and turned to Muzan Kibutsuji for help. But rather than transform others into demons like Doma or consume more demons than she can handle like Kyogai, Lady Tamayo decides to become subservient to Muzan. Initially, seeing that it would be impossible to kill Muzan given his uncommon physiology, This is until Yorichi shows up. For the first time in the 100 years that she had been a demon, someone had come deathly close to killing Muzan Kibutsuji. For the first time in her demon life, Tamayo's eyes lit up with hope at the possibility that Muzan could be killed. This fueled her faith in killing Muzan Kibutsuji. Unlike other demons, who had never seen that man display any sign of weakness, she had seen the prospect of his being taken down. To this end, she devoted the next 400 years to finding a cure, and when the opportunity came, she didn't hesitate. Lady Tamayo is who Akaza could have become if he retained his human memories. A demon who sees their struggles as a means to prevent others from experiencing that struggle. Although she initially grieved the loss of her humanity and the resulting death of her family, she uses this grief to push forward, learning about Muzan's weaknesses and using them against him. She is one of the few people in the show who we see that can restrict their demon tendencies. Indeed, throughout the show, we always see her being gentle and soft, with her confrontation with Muzan in the Infinity Castle arc being the only time she ever gets angry. In contrast, Yushiro is almost always angry whenever we see him. Saved by Lady Tamayo due to a terminal illness which he had, Yushiro's intense crush on Lady Tamayo makes him very aggressive toward anyone who comes near her. Yushiro is harsh, hot-tempered, confrontational, and aggressive. His first conversation with Tanjiro begins with him insulting Nezuko Kamado and calling her an eyesore.
Before we go, did you know that girl is a demon? And not much to look at.
His deep crush on Lady Tamayo most likely came as a result of his being healed and turned into a demon by her, but it quickly spirals into possessiveness. He hates it when others get too close to Tamayo, expressing even the smallest bit of attraction, or when he perceives that someone is insulting her. For fans of the show, this gets deeply frustrating given that Lady Tamayo never acknowledges his feelings and at many points is shocked by the lengths he goes to protect her. Yushiro is what happens when devotion becomes obsession. Where Akaza lets go of his past, Yushiro clings to it, never truly moving on from the woman who saved him. It is largely believed that if he got the chance, he most likely would marry Lady Tamayo. But the tragedy is, she never saw him that way. Where Yushiro found love in his savior, Tamayo, Rui's entire existence was about chasing the love he never had. And when viewers learned the truth behind his actions, it turned Rui, a lower moon, into one of the most beloved demons in the series. Rui was born sick, with a body too weak to carry his weight. Most of his childhood was spent bedridden, watching the world pass by. And while his parents tried everything, there was nothing that could heal him, until Muzan arrived, offering him good health in exchange for his humanity. It was a deal Rui couldn't refuse, until the consequences set in. With Muzan's offer came the demon's curse. He couldn't go out in the day and relied on eating humans to gain strength. Naturally, this scared his parents. But instead of running, they made a heartbreaking decision. They decided to kill him and themselves.
Rui, listen. We're going to die with you.
But before they could do it, Rui struck first. Rui always had a strict understanding of what a family should be. And when he couldn't find it in the real world, he proceeded to make a family of his own. Whether it was through intimidation, force, conformity, or fear, Rui built his spider family piece by piece, not with love, but control. Just like Muzan once did for him, Rui often played the role of savior, promising others peace in exchange for submission. Because deep down, Rui knew no one in this fake family actually loved each other. They obeyed him, they feared him, but they didn't care for him. And the stronger he got, the more he lost sight of what it was that he wanted in the first place. That's why he's stunned when Nezuko throws herself in front of Tanjiro to protect him. For the first time in his demon life, Rui witnessed something real. A sibling willing to die for the other. His entire fight with the Kamados was him trying to recreate that bond for himself. The relationship between Nezuko and Tanjiro didn't just fascinate Rui, it infuriated him. Because for the first time, he had found a version of family that matched what he had always wanted. Someone willing to risk their life to protect him, just like his real parents once did. It was unlike every other demon he had ever forced into his fake family. They always broke under pressure, they ran, they reverted to who they really were. But the siblings were the opposite. They weren't bound by fear, they were bound by love, and it drove Rui to obsession. He was ready to discard every other sibling he had collected just to make Nezuko his. Rui didn't just want Nezuko, he wanted to adopt her, to force her into a role she never asked for. Because his idea of family had been twisted beyond repair, not built on love or care, but on fear, obedience, and control. To this end, he makes a trade. But the Kamados refuse. Nezuko never submits. Tanjiro never backs down. And together, they fight Rui with everything they have, until Giyu intervenes and ends it for good. In his final moments, Rui remembers everything. His parents hadn't tried to kill him out of fear or hatred. They had planned to die with him, because they couldn't bear to watch their son suffer any longer.
I'm sorry that I couldn't give you a strong, healthy body.
And for the first time since becoming a demon, Rui understands what love really looks like. Not control, not fear, but sacrifice. Tears fill his eyes as he asks for forgiveness. And without hesitation, they give it. Not because he deserved it, but because they were his parents, even now. But while Rui died at the hands of Giyu, the other lower moons wouldn't be so lucky. In a single night, Muzan erased nearly all of them. Not for failure, but for weakness. All except one.
Lower rank 1. Enmu. The only survivor. And the only demon twisted enough to thank Muzan for killing his comrades. In fact, he even thanked him more for the honor of being killed by Muzan himself. Muzan, being the narcissist he is, found Enmu's answer delightful and rewarded him with more of his blood.
With one condition, kill Tanjiro Kamado. Fans hate Enmu for a reason. He's sadistic, manipulative, and loves watching people suffer. He manipulated innocent kids and manipulated people into doing his bidding. He lured victims in with their deepest dreams, only to twist them into nightmares. He's the kind of villain who'd risk everyone else's life just to win a pat on the head. Another reason fans hate him? Because of Enmu, the entire Mugen Train team was exhausted by the time Akaza appeared. Without that, things might have ended differently. In contrast, Spider-Mom's willingness to accept death made her one of the most pitied, and strangely, one of the most loved demons in the entire series. Like other members of the family, she is manipulated and coerced into doing Rui's bidding. She was a demon who welcomed death with open arms, who begged to be freed. She was quiet, soft-spoken, and deeply, tragically human in her final moments. While Enmu manipulated people's dreams for his own gain, Spider-Mom's final dream was simply to be released from hers. Her final note of warning to Tanjiro on the presence of a member of the 12 Kizuki also proved deeply useful.
Someone from the 12 Kizuki is here.
The same can't be said for upper rank 5 Gyokko. From his crazy shenanigans to his twisted artwork, there wasn't much to love about Gyokko. He's the kind of demon you pray you don't meet in a dark alley, with hands sprouting out of his eyes, a high-pitched, haunting laugh, and his unmistakable creepy porcelain vase. He's not the strongest of the upper ranks, but when it comes to creepy factor, he's right up there, second only to Kokushibo and his 6 eyes. While his origin isn't shown in the anime, the official manga fanbook reveals his sick and twisted personality, from developing a fascination with rotting bodies and other macabre items, to being ostracized by his fellow villagers, but it doesn't end there. He ends up killing a child who taunts him before being left for dead by the child's parents. At which point, Muzan finds him and turns him into a demon. But if you thought Enmu was creepy, Gyokko would give you nightmares while awake. In the Infinity Castle arc, Gyokko finds out where the Swordsmith village is located, the only place that makes weapons strong enough to kill demons. Together with Hantenu, he is sent to kill all the swordsmiths. On getting there, he proceeds to making disgusting artwork out of the swordsmiths. That is, until the Wind Hashira, Muichiro Tokito, arrives. Gyokko is hated for his attitude towards fights. He sees every battle as an opportunity to add to his perverted art collection.
You certainly don't look the part. You are still a Hashira. I'm getting giddy thinking of all the artwork I could make from you!
But for all his nonchalance about killing humans, Gyokko does seem to have one other quality: jealousy. The only time he gets annoyed is when Haganezuka pays no attention to him. It's the same thing he does when Muichiro starts to tease him. Seeing someone else be more focused on their art than him tends to evoke a strong sense of jealousy in him. It gets so bad that he begins to slash the latter while he does his work because he pays no attention to him. His jealousy, however, is second only to his insane levels of pride.
Bow down before me in awe!
At some points while watching this, I began to wonder whether I was watching the Pride Hashira or a member of the 12 Kizuki. He's like the demon of pride rather than one of the 12 Kizuki, with every interaction a means to exalt his artistry and unique body.
Everything my fists touch turn into the most amazing fish you've seen!
I mean, listen to these conversations of his. Even after being beheaded, he still remains obstinate in his prideful delusions.
Lowly human like you shouldn't be able to decapitate me!
Unlike Gyokko, whose pride came from his grotesque art, Kyogai's pain came from never being recognized for his. When viewers learn of his tragic backstory and sad present, there is a bit of understanding for the character. As a member of the 12 Kizuki, Kyogai slowly lost the ability to eat humans. This resulted in strict punishment by Muzan. Desperate to prove himself again, Kyogai sets his sights on a human with Marechi blood, the rarest in the world.
For you see, in terms of nutritional value for a demon, a human Marechi is akin to eating as many as 100 normal humans!
Throughout his fight with Tanjiro, he also doesn't hurt him, mostly resorting to turning the room. Notice how he never hurts him. And at some point, while the room is upturned, Tanjiro makes an effort not to step on his precious manuscripts, a gesture Kyogai greatly appreciated. Eventually, as Tanjiro ends him, he appreciates his blood demon art, giving Kyogai the validation he had wanted his whole life. And for the first time, Kyogai cries. But not all demons cry. The next upper rank wouldn't be known for emotion, she'd be known for silence. The eerie, ever-watching eye of the Infinity Castle, Nakime. Her story begins not with tears, but with murder. Before the Infinity Castle, before Muzan, she was just a struggling biwa player. Her husband? A gambling addict who drained her earnings and gambled away the only kimono she owned, the one she wore to perform. When Nakime found out, something snapped. In a quiet, deadly rage, she took up a hammer and killed him. The stage awaited. With no time to spare, she wore a tattered kimono and stepped into the spotlight. The crowd jeered, laughed, booed. But then, something strange happened. That night, Nakime delivered the performance of her life. The sound coming from the biwa as Nakime played was so beautiful that her audience loved her performance and shouted for an encore. The crowd loved her. Even the stage owner was impressed. And that night, she was paid more than ever before. Quickly, she realized that the excellence of her performance came from killing humans. And so, she started to kill humans before every performance. Of all the upper ranks, only Doma, Hantenu, and Nakime were already monsters before Muzan found them. Plus, killing humans to be able to perform is just bad, whether in a cartoon or in real life. But one fateful day, Nakime's luck would run out. On her way to perform, Nakime would choose a random person to murder. On the first attempt, he didn't die. On the second, he didn't budge, and by the third attempt, he did what he had done to all his previous allies. Offer her a chance to become a demon in exchange for her life, an offer which she quickly accepted, rising up the ranks quickly and becoming one of Muzan's trusted servants. Nakime is hated not just because of her character, but also because of her powers, from transporting everyone, including the Hashiras, into the Infinity Castle to spying on them, and separating the Hashiras in the Infinity Castle. However, where Nakime failed to create a good impression, Daki and Gyutaro succeeded. Rated the best fight in the entire series, the Entertainment District arc reignited the world's love for Demon Slayer. In fact, the Never Give Up episode has the highest number of ratings of any episode in the series, and it's easy to see why, because behind the flashiest fight of the series was the most tragic backstory. Gyutaro's envy of others comes from not having anything himself. Born into the filthiest, poorest part of the Entertainment District, his fate was sealed the moment he was born. His mother tried to kill him multiple times before and after he was born, and somehow, he still survived. Skinny, starving, insect-bitten, his body sickly, his face twisted, Gyutaro became something the district mocked, hence his demon form. This form earned taunts, stares, and insults from multiple villagers. He scavenged like an animal, ate mice, snakes, insects, and scraps to survive, and his body was sickly and twisted, the same as his demon form. The measure of value in the entertainment district was beauty. But then, something changed. Ume was born, and she was beautiful. So beautiful that people started to notice them, even fear him. Gyutaro became a debt collector. His ugliness now an asset, as most people feared him. Ume, now a courtesan in training, their ticket out of hell. For a moment, it looked like things were turning around. One fateful day, Ume stabbed a customer in the eye in self-defense. On finding out that it was a samurai, the community bound her hands and feet and burnt her. Gyutaro returned from work to find her barely alive. And before he could even react, the woman who ran the entertainment house lured him into a trap. The same samurai stabbed him in the back, but Gyutaro didn't die. Instead, he killed both the woman and the samurai, then crawled to Ume's side, dying, bleeding, cold. It was in that moment, as the world abandoned them, that Doma appeared and gave them a choice. For Gyutaro, there was no decision to make. He would never let Ume suffer again. They became demons. Driven by vengeance, Gyutaro devoured 15 Hashiras, dragging himself and his sister to the top of the upper ranks, until they met Tengen Uzui. For the first time in his life, somebody stood in front of him, perfect, having everything he didn't. A tall, handsome man with a perfect face, flawless skin, and 3 wives. Something even Zenitsu was envious of.
Oh, well, I do have 3 wives.
Did you say wives? And 3?
Gyutaro, however, couldn't take it. Everything about Tengen triggered him, and so he tried to destroy him. It's easy to dismiss Gyutaro as just another jealous demon, angry at the world, eager to drag others down with him. But there's a reason he's one of the most loved demons in the series. That reason is Daki. From the moment he reveals himself, we see how deeply he cares for her. He gently heals her wounds, scolds her for getting beheaded, and even jokes about it, like a protective older brother would. Even in the heat of battle, he's careful, furious when Tengen kicks her in the stomach, stabbing Inosuke in revenge for slicing off her head, sharing one of his eyes with her just to boost her power. After all, he raised her himself, after their mother died and their community abandoned them. And even after centuries as a demon, even after nearly forgetting what it meant to be human, that love never left him. Where other demons cling to power, Gyutaro clung to his sister. But make no mistake, his kindness was never for the world. It was for her. He lived for Daki, killed for Daki, and in the end, even as their bodies burned away, he waited for her in the afterlife, so she wouldn't go to hell alone. Some demons are hated, Gyutaro was loved. But if you want to know which Hashira are loved and which are hated, click on the video on screen now.